Okay, everybody, so here we are. Um, when I first started trying to figure out how to set up my duty cycle for the boost control with the Holley and everything, guys, I've got a tendency to overcomplicate everything, and that's pretty much what I did here. It's actually pretty simple, and I just wanted to kind of show you guys how I went about doing it. Uh, just in case you guys might be, trying to figure out the whole Mac valve thing and why there's no four-port Mac valve if you're using a four-port Mac valve and everything in the Holley software. So maybe it'll simplify some stuff for you guys. And I do want to say, this does require a little bit of trial and error. And in the midst of me doing all this trial and error, um, we had some bad stuff happen that I'll go over. I'll go over later in the video. I'm gonna wait till toward the end of the video because I know a lot of people that click on this video probably just click to see how to set up the duty cycle on their Mac valve. So I'll save the goofy channel specific stuff to the end. Anyway, guys, the first question I had, and again, my setup, it's twin turbo 5.3. I'm using a four-port Mac valve, and I am on the Holley HP. So everything I'm about to show you is going to pertain to Holley HP and Holley Dominator. Um, Terminator X is similar, but it doesn't have some of these tables I'm about to show you. But Matt Happel over at Sloppy Mechanics, he's actually got a good video that shows you how to basically make the table I'm about to show you um, in the advanced ICF over here. So anyway, the first thing that I wondered when I was setting it up is I was like, okay, there's no there's no option here for a four port. You know, you can select single port or dual port dome control, and you go in here. Either one. Um, the only options that you have here, in mine anyway, was single Holley three port, single Humphrey three port, or custom. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, it does not matter if you're using a four port. You can go ahead and select three port here. Okay, it doesn't matter. Now, my whole plan was I wanted to use mat pressure. This is the part that Terminator X does not have. Okay, with the Terminator HP or I'm sorry, the Holley HP and the Holley Dominator, you can just select mat pressure as your reference, and it will run closed loop. Okay, so what that means is, you tell it what kind of boost you want to make, and the Holley will basically do closed loop, and it'll keep dancing the Mac valve around until it hits that pressure. Now, in order for this to work properly, you need to fill out this table. This is the table because you don't have this option right here in Terminator X. You're not going to have this table in Terminator X. So I'm going to say one more time. Matt Happel at Sloppy Mechanics shows you how to make an advanced ICF table it basically does the same thing as this table here. All right. So that's the last thing I'm going to mention about Terminator X for the last time. Uh, Everything I'm saying, or for the most part, it applies to the Holley V software with the Dominator and the HP. So anyhow, what this table is, you've got your boost here on the left, and you've got your RPM down here at the bottom here. And basically, what this table does is it's your duty cycle table. Okay, so this is saying that at 20% duty cycle with my Mac valve, if my Mac valve is operating at 20% duty cycle, at 4,000 RPM, it should give me 16 pounds of boost, right? Right. All right. Now, you can have this table kind of out of whack, and the Holley will still eventually give you 16 pounds of boost if you're wanting 16 pounds of boost. But ideally, you don't want it to have to dance around so much. You don't want the Holley to have to work so hard. And if you want that boost curve to be flat, you need to get this table dialed in as close to perfect as you possibly can. So that's what I'm here to do, is show you how I went about doing that. My table is not completely dialed in yet. It's pretty accurate, probably up to about 12 pounds. Beyond that, we haven't experimented yet, and you'll see why at the end of the video. But anyway, so like I said, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do Matt pressure, closed loop. Well, after talking to Matt Happel, he was like, look, man, you really need to dial in, just go open loop first and try to figure out all your duty cycle settings. And then, once you get all that figured out, then you can go ahead and go closed loop. Everything should run great. So that's what we're here for. So here's what we do, guys. We select open loop duty cycle, Holley 3-port, even though we're running a 4-port. Again, it doesn't freaking matter. All this is a function of duty cycle, so it doesn't really matter what you select up here. 3-port or whatever. Well, I guess it would matter if you're doing dual 3-ports or something, because then you're going to have dual outputs. But we're not going to get on that. We're using a 4-port Mac valve, so we're going to select Holley 3-port. We're going to select open loop duty cycle, and for operating mode, we're going to do boost versus time. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to our boost versus time table, and basically what you've got here is you've got duty cycle going up this axis, and down here you've got time in seconds going across this axis. All right. Generally, what you want to do is you want probably the first 2 seconds. You want to space that out a little better. So we're gonna go right here, and we're gonna make this 2 seconds, and it's gonna interpolate right there, and it's gonna give us 1.0, 1.25. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and interpolate this too. Fill row values. There we go. All right. Now, I'm not going to go over really why I did that, but I'm just going to say when you're trying to put your boost in here at the beginning of the run, the first 2 seconds are going to be the most important, where you're going to want to be able to make minor changes. But for the purpose of what we're doing, that really doesn't matter, because you're going to be flatlining this. So what I did is I started creeping up, and I figured out, first off, that 15% duty cycle, and I'll tell you how I went about doing this, guys. I started at 10% duty cycle, and I've got 4-pound springs in my wastegate, so it makes about 3.5-4 pounds of boost on gate. And what I did is I started at 10% duty cycle, and I just went out on the interstate. I made a second gear pull, and I checked my data log, see what kind of boost it made. Then I went up to 12%, and I kept doing that until I started seeing a change. The funny thing about these 4-port Mac valves is they've got like a really high resolution compared to a 3-port. Like a 3-port Mac valve, you've got to make pretty large percentage changes to make, changes in boost. The 4-port's kind of funny, because what you'll find is at lower duty cycle, and Matt Happel's actually went over this too. I keep mentioning him because I learned a lot from that guy. But what you're going to find is in the very beginning, it's not really going to affect boost, is what I'm trying to spit out. It's not going to affect boost, and then all of a sudden you're going to reach a point where it does affect boost. And then after that point, every little tiny change to duty cycle is going to make huge, huge changes to boost. and I'm about to show you that. So what I come to find out is I had to get up to about 14% duty or 13% duty cycle before it even started affecting my boost at all. Like all the way up to about 12% duty cycle, I was still only making 4 pounds of boost. And then all of a sudden, when I hit 15, at 15% duty cycle on my 4-port Mac valve, I was making about 6.5 pounds of boost. So there was my first dramatic jump. So what I did is I wrote that down, and then I went back out and I bumped the duty cycle up to 20 because I didn't realize how sensitive this thing was going to be, because I'm thinking it took me 15% just to add, what, 4 pounds of boost, or 3 pounds of boost rather. So I'm thinking if I add another 5%, that, it's only going to add maybe a pound or two of boost. Well, boy, was I wrong, because when I put in 20% duty cycle, I don't even know what it made, guys, because I had my boost cut for safety reasons on pump gas. I had my boost cut set at 14 psi, and it just instantly spiked to boost cut when I put 20 in. So I tried 19, and 19 did the same thing. It instantly spiked past 14 psi to boost cut. So at that point, I was like, okay, I need to start lower. So I set it all the way down to 17 pounds, I believe it was. Let me check my logs. We're going to be looking at that here in just a second. Yeah, so I went to 17% duty cycle, and I made a hit here. And what I found out was, come on, grab this. What I found out was at 17% duty cycle, this red line right here is my boost. So at 17% duty cycle, I was making 7.8 pounds of boost, right at 8 pounds, right? Cool. So that was good. Everything was happy. So then I went up to 18% duty cycle. And at 18% duty cycle, some wonky things started happening, and that's what we're going to talk about later in the video. But for now, we're just going to focus on the boost here. So at that point, 18% duty cycle. Wait, what am I looking for? Drag race. 18% duty cycle. We got up to, what was this? A little over 8 psi. So didn't make a really huge difference between 17 and 18%. Just, about a half a psi. We went from about 7.5 to about 8.0. Then we went to 18.5% duty cycle. Oh yeah, this was a long data log, guys. Long data log, and more wonky stuff happening. And here you go. You can see right here, boost solenoid duty cycle is at 18.5%. And you look over here at my boost, which is kind of jumping up and down. That's expected when you're using just flat duty cycle. There's no compensation taking place. But you can see we're at 10 pounds of boost. 10.5 there, 10.5. And then it spikes right here for reasons we'll discuss later to almost 11. So there we go, guys. So here's the thing. Once I got to this point, I tried. Where's it at? Okay, no, I didn't. I didn't go back to 19 because I thought 19 had hit the boost cut earlier, but it turns out something else was going on. But my point is here, you can see it only took us, sorry guys, it only took us less than, let's see, 1.5% change in duty cycle. So going from 17% duty cycle to 18.5% duty cycle took us all the way up to a little over 10 pounds of boost from about 7.5 pounds of boost. So you can see how sensitive this thing's going to be. And I think what's going to happen is as the boost climbs, it's going to get more and more sensitive. And when we get up around probably 20 something pounds of boost, I'm predicting that it's going to get to the point where, a tenth of a duty cycle percentage is probably going to be like a pound or two of boost. It may be even more sensitive than that. But anyhow, once you get your numbers, you just basically, like I just showed you, you keep making passes in open loop and just keep adjusting your duty cycle and keep writing those numbers down. Okay? And once you get those numbers, then you can come back in here, go to this map pressure, or if you're using, the Terminator X and doing the tables like Matt Happel showed you, you can adjust it in there. But you'll come back in here, you'll go to map control setup, and here's your duty cycle table that, we discussed earlier. So you can see what I've done is I've come in here, and remember I told you it didn't really start seeing a change until 12 or 13% duty cycle. So I came in here and I made my first number 5 pounds of boost, and I said 12, like 12% duty cycle gave me about 5 pounds of boost. And then at 15% duty cycle, I had about 6.5 pounds of boost. So I put 6.5 here, and I flatlined that across. And then, I just went up like that. I knew 18% duty cycle gave me 8 pounds of boost, so I put that in there. I knew 18.5 gave me about 10 pounds of boost. And as we get higher in the RPMs, it would have took less to give me 10 pounds of boost. Now, from there, I didn't know what 19 pounds gave me. All I knew was that 19 pounds hit the boost cut. So I thought, hit the boost cut at 14 pounds. So I went ahead and I put the 19 right here under the 14 pound tab, and I just kind of went halfway between, and I figured on 12 pounds being about 18.8% duty cycle. Now here's the thing, guys. Yeah, and then I just tried to kind of follow the same pattern going up, but I don't think it's going to follow that up to 30. I don't think I'm going to have to be at 23.5% duty cycle to hit 30 pounds of boost. It's just, it's going to be super sensitive up there. I'm predicting, but we don't know yet, because we had to stop because of a little transmission problem. So anyway, once you get this table filled in like this, then you can run it like this. You can just stay on closed loop. Map pressure. The Holley will look at the map pressure, and then you can come over here to your boost versus time table, and you can just tell it what you want to do. You can say you want to leave on, let's say you want to leave on 5 pounds of boost. Okay, so you'll put that here. More importantly, you'll come over here to boost setup and set your trans brake thing or whatever to, 5 psi on your trans brake. So say you want to leave on 5 psi. So you'll have your 0-second timer here on 5 psi, and let's say by 1.5 seconds you want to be running, let's say you want to max out at 15 pounds of boost, and you want to be running that within 5 seconds. Well, there you go. You're starting at 5 pounds of boost, or you want to be in by 1 point, or you want that to be all in by 1.5 seconds. So there's that. We run that in. We'll fill row values, and then we'll just leave this flat line. So what's going to happen? You're going to make 5 pounds of boost on your brake. As soon as you let off your button, over 1.5 seconds, it's going to ramp you up from, 5 pounds of boost up to 15, and then hold that 15 the rest of the way. I hope you guys can kind of see what I did there. That's pretty much it, guys. I mean, it's that easy. It's trial and error. Like I said in the beginning, you go in here, you do open loop first, you flatline your junk at whatever duty cycle you want to be at, and then once you figure out your duty cycles, you can come back and you can put it in your closed loop table, and then you can run closed loop if you want. You don't have to worry about, at that point, you won't have to worry about duty cycle anymore. You'll just have to worry about how much boost you want to make instead of trying to do the math in your head. I know a lot of people just stick to open loop and they'll do that math in their head, and they'll say, or some people will just write it all down and keep it written down, and when they get to the track, they'll just put in, duty cycle in your boost versus time table instead of PSI. But for me, I think it's easier to just remember, or not to remember rather, and just put PSI in here, and this is going to allow you to do that. I know that's kind of rambling, guys, but that's how that's done. Now, let's move on to the bad news. All right, guys, I thought I'd give you a little shot of me here. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm just learning how to use this new screen capture software I downloaded. It's OBS. I know a lot of people use it. I tried to use it for a while and had all kinds of problems. So anyway, guys, as I just stated, last night I went out and I was trying to figure out the boost control and everything. And we ended up running into a little bit of a problem. So I'm just going to pull this log back up and show you guys what happened. As you can see here, this was a run we did on, what was this like? Yeah, somewhere around 10 PSI. It hit 10.5 in a few spots there. But basically, I've got something going on with my transmission, guys, and I'm going to throw some videos at the end for you guys who like to watch the videos. I'll put some clips in the end. I'm probably not going to try to edit them in and spend a bunch of time on that. I'll just save them for the end so you can see what I'm saying. But basically what was going on here is I was making my passes and I thought I was hitting boost cut. But what actually was going on is I wasn't hitting boost cut. Once the boost started coming in really good, the transmission was just not holding the gear. And you can see right here, this red line is my RPMs. And we got up to about 6,500 RPM, and then, zoom. You can see the RPM just shoots up. Right. So it did this every time I tried to make a hit. We'll go down here. And you may hear me say in the video clips, I couldn't figure out what was going on, guys. Like, at first, I thought I was hitting boost cut, and then I thought maybe I was blowing through the converter, and then I finally figured out that the transmission was just giving up. Like, oh, here's a good one. So I floored it, and it goes up. I mean, right here, it just goes straight up. I mean, when I floored it here, it just shot straight up to the rev limiter and started bouncing the rev limiter. Like, it didn't even try to hold that gear. But then I let out of it, and wait, where's it at? I let out of it, and I got into again here, and you can see right here, it held. I'm making 9. Yeah, I'm making 10 pounds of boost right here, and I pulled all the way to 6,500-ish, and you can see it held just fine. So I think what it was is this was second gear over here, and I let out when it spiked to the limiter, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try to get in it in third gear and see if it holds. And so I get in it right here, and you can see it held in third gear all the way up till this point, and I'm not even going to mention how fast I was going. But then I let out, and then I nailed it again over here. Like I said, guys, I was trying to figure out, this is one of the last logs that I took. And at this point, I was just trying to figure out what was going on with this car. And you can see here, again, I put my foot in it. Well, I put my foot in it back here. The boost jumps up, starts to jump up to about 7 pounds. And the RPMs go up, and I let out. And then I went ahead and let it shift into third again. And I got in it. And it's doing good, doing good, doing good. And then right here, about 6,600 RPMs, boom. It just suddenly shoots right up to the rev limiter. Transmission just slips. So, and yeah, and then this is what was funny. You'll see this towards the end. What was funny, these are the last two little pulls I did. And on these last two, it didn't slip. So I believe this was second gear. And I got in it, and it climbs nice and steady to 7,200. And I let off. Instead of shifting, I just let off it right before it hit the limiter. And then I coasted a little bit. And then I got in it again after a short coast down, because I was just testing it to see if it would hold the gear. And it held it again here. So you're going to see in the video, I think this was the pull where it was right at the end. It was the last pull I did. And I was like, that felt pretty good. You know, I'm going to try this again. And I went down the road, and I got in it a few more times, and it held. Which was really funny, because for the whole hour or hour and a half I was driving around doing this, it was spiking and hitting the limiter, like just slipping. But then at the end of all that, at the end of the thrashing, the car was running hot. It was up to like 228 degrees at one point. And I know the transmission was running hot too at that point, but then it decided to start grabbing. So I'm not sure what's going on, guys. I don't know if I've toasted our little, you know, the Turbo 350 is basically stock. Other than that full manual shift kit that we put in it, which has never really worked very well. But, you know, this transmission's old, guys. It's been rebuilt. It was rebuilt like 20 years ago, stock rebuild. And then I recently put the full manual shift kit in it. And there's nothing else done to it. So, honestly, I'm surprised it put up with a whole year of nitrous abuse. And I'm surprised it's just now starting to give up the goat. But I don't know, guys. If any of you guys are, you know, good at checking out data logs and seeing what's going on, you can give me suggestions. But you know, there it is again, steady climb, and then all of a sudden, boom, straight to the rev limiter. I don't know what's going on though. I've got some theories. What I don't get is, if it was the clutches, you would think that, if it was the clutches, you would think that it would just slip all the time, every time I got in it. But it didn't. Like I said, towards the end, you know, when I was just trying to get home, and I was getting close to home, so I started putting my foot in it again and again, suddenly it decided it wanted to hold after doing all the crazy stuff all day. So, anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll in some clips of what the car was doing. And my suggestion is, don't watch the Holley dash, because you really can't tell anything from that, because it just goes yellow and red. Watch the analog tack, the big monster tack I have over on my right hand side, because you can see the needle, and it's steady climb, and then boom, it just shoots to red line all of a sudden. So anyway, enjoy the video clips. I probably won't do an outro on this video, but I would appreciate any input you might have as to what you think might be causing this before I end up pulling the transmission out of the car. And let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. We hit 8 pounds on 17%.
too busy watching the boost gauge and wasn't watching my shift points. Transmission will not shift, guys. The first time I rolled into it, as soon as it got up to about 10 pounds of boost, it broke the tires loose at about 70. But then the last time, I don't know. So we're going to try to do this in third gear just to check our boost. And hopefully, I don't know. Making any more boost, it's still just making 8. But if I go up 1 more % duty cycle, it hits boost cut. Or maybe I wasn't hitting boost cut, guys. Maybe it was the transmission giving out on me. We're gonna go back to 19% real quick. I'm gonna do it on my dash, and I'm gonna do a third gear roll on and see what happens. I think we may be having transmission issues. Okay, so here's what's going on. I don't think I was hitting boost cut at 19% duty cycle. I think what was going on is this transmission cannot hold second gear. If you remember a couple videos ago, I was having an issue with that. So what I'm going to do is get it up in the third gear. I've actually put the duty cycle at 20, not just 19. So I'm going to get it up in the third gear and roll on it and see what 20% duty cycle gives me. If it does not hit boost cut, yeah guys, we may be looking at having to rebuild this transmission. And I'm just telling you guys right now, the wifey is not going to let me do that until we fix the transmission in the Corvette. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. Anyway, let's try 20% duty cycle, third gear roll on, and see what happens. Now we hit boost cut for sure that time. I'm going to try 18.5 and see what happens. Here we go. That, I think, was 10 PSI, guys. PSI, and then it just blew right through the converter, it felt like, because we weren't going that fast. Well, it may not be blowing through the converter, the transmission might just be slipping. I know I've got my cooler on, my cooler fan on now though. I checked it before we left. Yeah, second gear. Listen guys, I'm in second gear. I'm going to try to give it gas. This is what it's doing. It's catching and jerking. Yep, transmission's done, guys. We just killed this turbo 350. Oh crap. Oh, that sucks, a big one. Okay, it grabbed that time. Hell, let's keep going. Oh, we cooking the engine too, because we're doing 228 degrees now. All right, let's coast it.